Corona TV viewers. This is Peter Keys from Leonard Skinner. I want to wish you all a happy birthday.
First of all, let's just do the elbow bump because we can't do the handshake right now.
Hello, everybody on Corona TV. This is Macy Gray.
You're smiling, and I saw your beautiful daughter earlier, who I said could come on the show anytime. Welcome, Shiv Singh.
Thanks for having me, Joseph. Great to be with you.
That was the very, very first intro to the show that I put together, where I was still sequestered, quarantined on a different floor. My wife had COVID. This was the beginning of Corona TV. And of course, you saw Peter Shankman in that initial intro. And I have so many of my guests, 4 out of my 5 guests were really here right at the beginning. So very special to have them back on an episode of Corona Community, or whatever the hell we call it. Bob Farnham is here. He said, I look forward to the community show every week. As do I. It's just amazing to reconnect with people. I never wanted this to be a one and done. Now, you'll have to decide, if you're watching, whether you want to classify our guests today as either free thinkers or curmudgeons. But today is both National Curmudgeon Day and Free Thinkers Day. But for the most part, I think we all know that they are free thinkers indeed. They are Peter Shankman, Judi Glova, David Berkowitz, Jason Borowitz, and Chad Dick, and they will be on the show shortly. But next week, just a little bit of a preview, Robin Caller, John Jansch, Justin Levy, Tracy Lovett, and then a community show with Jeff Gotthelf, Tom Morris, Lisa Cohn, Bob Heyman, and the wonderful Faith James. So they will be in the community hot seat next week. Also, speaking of rooms and seats and chairs and tables, I am going to be co-hosting, co-moderating 2 rooms in and on Clubhouse next week. On Monday at 4, one called Brands on Clubhouse, Soulmates or Unholy Union. And actually, Peter Shankman's going to be with me as well as Sean Sorcolt, Adam Kleinberg, Jen Samples, and a few other people. And then on Tuesday, continuing a series that I started with Angus Nelson, and also Brian Kramer's joining us, called Pivoting, the Reinvention of Careers and Life. The idea of pivot your company, pivot your personal brand, pivot your life. And that is at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. So hopefully you can join us on the Clubhouse. Happy birthday to, let's see if I can just, Donna and Evan Lieberman, 2 twins, both turning 50 today. Annette Tonti, I used to work with her a little bit. Good to see you, at least on the Facebook birthday waves. And then Mariano Berenstein. Mariano was working for a speakers bureau. And I connected with him in Buenos Aires when I went down to speak. I think it was a Google event. Turns out he was also a good family friend of Lionel Messi, and he organized for me, I still can't believe that, talk about generosity, a signed Argentina shirt by Lionel Messi that I gave to my son. That is how to appear to be a hero in front of your child. That was just an amazing connection. But anyway, that's the preamble. It's time to bring on our first guest, because this is all about them. Mr. Peter Shankman, welcome back to the show.
Good to be back. How are you?
Peter Shankman, guest number 6, right at the beginning.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, you and you said something in the green room to me. You said you were, what was the line you gave me?
I said you were just as anal back then as you are today, 100 and something shows later. So yeah. Yeah,
maybe even more. Except now I have a Google Doc.
You have a Google Doc and you have a Peloton. So I see you and we have that going for us. So it's good.
I'm gonna make the challenge of being on the bike doing a class every day in January.
You making the January? Yeah, me too. It's funny. I didn't want to a couple of days ago. And I'm like, God damn! So I found like a 20-minute walking class and was like, let me just do something.
I just did meditation. Now, so that was but only four. The rest of them have been real classes. By the way, just speaking of which, if I may just talk about the fact that you just completed a 110-hour and 25-minute fast. What the hell?
So I'm training for the Ironman in Kona this October. And to do that, I need to be about 30 pounds lighter than my fat ass currently is. And sometimes you get into a rut and you get into a plateau where you reach a certain amount of weight and you just can't break through it. And so a fast, anything like 3 days or more, tends to knock that out of the park and get you back into sort of getting you to that that fat burning zone where you want to be. The downside is that you really, really need to be careful of to make sure you're still taking electrolytes, like magnesium and zinc and salt. Otherwise, you'll wind up getting out of bed super excited because it's your last day and you can go break the fast, and you forget that after 4 days with nothing but water, your blood pressure's a little down and you'll faint right on your ass and slam yourself into the side of a cabinet. So that was this morning. But I'm fine. And I'm back to eating and I'm healthy, and I dropped about 9 pounds, 4 of which was probably water weight, 5 of which were actual fat.
Amazing. Anne Bowman is here, and she said, "What the hell is right? That is a major fast. Good grief." Stephen Rubin is here, and Tom Morris is free thinker here, but willing also to think for fees. Fee thinker. You just created a new term. I'm a fee thinker.
I'm also here. I should mention I'm also here with Waffle. This is my Corona accessory. We rescued him for my daughter and myself. And
that's amazing.
His name is Waffle. He's a lot of fun.
Wonderful. Welcome to the show, Waffle. Now, your quick icebreaker question, and then we're going to bring on the rest, is which do you vote for? You got to vote for one of them. Hedge funds, Robinhood, or Wall Street Bets? Who gets
honestly, it's like voting for which cancer you like the best, but I have to go with Wall Street Bets. I mean, it's hysterical how the super rich have always been, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and invest, and you too can do this. And then when people started doing it, they're like, no, not like that. So it's nice to see them get smacked around once in a while. So I'm with Wall Street Bets.
Okay, now let's bring on Judi. Judi, how are you? And you brought your dog as well. Quick question.
We have like the dog pound here today, but yeah, she's Bijou. She's here joining us, and really excited to be here. Thanks.
I mean, I've got to try and see if I can get Sammy, the Morkie. Judi is an expert in intuitive leadership, resilience, and high performance. Judi, what's been going on in your world? And after you answer me that, let's hear whether you give the vote to the big hedge funds, the identity compromised Robinhood, or the Reddit upstarts, Wall Street Bets.
Yeah, so what I've been up to is definitely, kicking off this year with all of my clients, just making sure that they are burning brightly, because there's so much burnout going on coming up with the 1 year anniversary of the pandemic and people, working from home and all that stuff. So doing that has been really a joy for me. And we have our bi-monthly call, bit.ly/release recharge for everybody that wants to come on. It's a great free thinking and a free release opportunity for people to just burn brightly. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. And definitely I am all about Wall Street Bets, because I love creative interpretation of the rules. I really, look.
Yeah, we got, just hold on. There he is. We got, look at this. This is kind of crazy. All right, everybody.
I love it.
Everybody look at the screen.
My guy just ran off, so you guys have it.
That's a bit,
Oh, who's that puppy?
Oh, you got you got him trained.
Waffle, you're
trained is a stretch, let me tell you. Now try to take him off my lap and hear what he has to say. Let's go. All right, he went only because my wife took him. Otherwise, there would have been growls. All right, so we got 2 Wall Street Bets.
Yes.
Oh my goodness! Hold on a second, Terry. You're going to have to come back because David Berkowitz is here, and he has a dog. He has a cat. Dogs and cats and dogs living together. A little bit of a Ghostbusters reference. We've gone crazy. I'm just going to keep him here for a while. How are you, David?
I'm doing better than Sunday is here, because Sunday. This is my first pet in my adult life, Sunday and his brother Saturday. So, Sunday,
Aw.
want to say hi?
Oh, that is so cute, and I'm just so interested to see what happens next. David, who gets your vote? Hedge funds, Robinhood, or Wall Street bets?
Hedge funds. Someone's got to say it. Someone's got to say the house always wins. House is going to win. It's going to be rigged in hedge funds' favor, and so who's my sympathy with? That's otherwise, but who's going to just the rich are going to keep getting richer.
I mean, ain't that unfortunately the truth, or is it the truth? Maybe Jason Borowicz has a different idea. Jason, welcome back to the show. How are you, my friend?
Doing well, thanks. Good to be here.
I know that background. In fact, that might be my house because I've had that exact same background before.
Yeah, I just moved house yesterday, and this is not it. This is
I know, I love it. I love the fact that when you use a virtual background of a home, and it's someone that someone recognizes. Wait, that's my house. Jason, what have you been up to?
Well, gosh, since we met last, I think I might have been in the first couple of weeks when you started Corona TV, and then
Pretty soon, number 23.
Yeah, 23. So since then I'm in a company now called TGG Solutions, and we concentrate on enabling small business, so technology and advisory. So the big thing there is looking for innovative ways to release cash. For small business, cash is their big need. So trying to find some innovative ways to release cash flow back into these businesses. So the big thing we're looking at right now is some healthcare innovations that some small businesses have to pay less for healthcare, and that cash can be used as increase your employee value proposition or invest in other things in your business.
That's awesome. I'll take the cash too. And quickly, hedge funds, Robinhood, or Wall Street bets?
Hey, I'm with David on this one. It's like going to Vegas and thinking you're going to come home up.
Wow, unbelievable! You guys have turned on me. Chad,
I mean, my heart, my heart's with the small guys, but I just don't see it turning out well for them.
Chad, Dick, you are the tiebreaker, unless. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
He's muted.
You know what we're gonna have to say? Someone always has to do it. Are you ready for it? You're on, everyone. Say it with me. You're on mute.
This is why we can't have nice things, Chad.
Someone has to be.
I was on mute because I was so busy practicing what I learned in body language earlier in the week that I was supposed to be animated with my body and stare at the camera. So I still have a little bit more practice to do there. Sorry about that.
You need to be animated with your mouth.
Yeah.
No. So Chad, you are the tiebreaker. So
I'm gonna do a write-in vote here. My vote actually lives at the intersection of Robinhood and the people, because they are a bona fide, what we call people's champion challenger. I would love to see them succeed. Story's moving so fast, though, I don't know that we all have the facts to judge them. But I have to say that, what they were doing the last couple of days doesn't sound very challenger-like. So I'm just watching it with great interest to see if, I love the phrase, the populace can overcome the capitalists, because I think that there's clearly an inefficiency here that's being exploited, and it does need to be ironed out. So as a challenger fan, I'd like to see both Robinhood and the Wall Street bets people win.
All right, so ultimately we had 2 for hedge funds, we had 2 for the people, we had and then we had 50% of Robinhood and 50% of the people. Looks like the people have it, but only just. All right, well, welcome everybody. We are going to get straight into it. I have my trusty, my handy dandy notebook and my trusty egg timer. Exactly, you're looking very evil there, Chad. Mr. Peter Shankman, the floor is yours. Take it away. What's in your mind?
What's on my mind? It's interesting. I'm sitting here in New York City. It's about 7 degrees today, no joke. And having spent the past 9 months now, working from this small little area of my apartment, I have a Regis space that I go to maybe once a month to check the mail, which I'm trying to get rid of. I'm fascinated by what's going on and where we're going to be in another 9 months. New York City offices are currently at anywhere from 20 to 22% capacity, and that's on a high day. That's on a good day. On a day like this, I wouldn't imagine it's more than 10%. I would estimate we've moved forward 10 years in the past 8 months. And when you look at something like that, and you look at the fact that I'm talking to you now from, again, the corner of my apartment, where I have a background that's all blurred out. I set up a camera. I set up a real camera. I have a system that everything is lit. I'm getting calls. I'm doing my TV hits on this system, right? I'm doing my speaking gigs on this system. I spoke 2 weeks ago. I spoke at 7 a.m. in Shanghai and at 8 a.m. in Sydney. And, to be able to do that and then wake my daughter up and take her to school is incredible. And so as much as I miss the travel, and I hope it comes back because airplanes were my happy place, I am amazed by what I've been able to do the past 9 months, work-wise and professionally. The couple of downsides, that we're going to have to figure out. Number one, my 7-year-old daughter, I'm a single dad at home, and I found that all my daughter's teachers so far have been lying to me in the respect that she is not a pleasure to have in class. But she is back now in a in actual school. They're in the school again back here at City, and the opportunities that have been afforded people like us, people who work, who can work remotely, who can do different things, have really been incredible. I think we need to focus very heavily over the next year on mental health. Because I can tell you that as great as things, not great, but as good as things have been work-wise or whatever, it has taken a toll on my mental health and everyone else's mental health as well. And that's going to take some time to recover. And I think that one of the things we all really need to do is put a priority on mental health. The second thing I'm seeing, in terms of what industries are going to survive and what industries are going to fall, I'm looking out my window and I can see 6th Avenue, at the tops of buildings of 6th Avenue, 3 blocks away. And we're going to have to do a lot of figuring out what we want to do with those buildings, because we have massive amounts of buildings over there that are never going to be full again from a business perspective, right? Are we going to make them mixed use? Are we going to make them residential? Commercial real estate brokers right now, I look at that way, I see Hudson Yards. Hudson Yards is screaming right now, right? They're on the hook for about $785 billion in debt, something like that. They got to start fixing it. All of a sudden, they're at 10% occupancy, right? So I think that we have a tremendous amount of amazing experiences that can come out of this, but we're going to have to look very, very hard at how we want to run that. And then finally, one of the cool things is I've had time, because I've been at home, I've had time to do stuff other than just write. I've actually created a course. Scott Monty and I just put together a speaking course, how to be a public speaker. We launched that on Kajabi. It's fascinating to see what happens when, the workplace shifts and your life shifts, and you can do things that you otherwise might not have had time to do, but you can enjoy. And so for me, I feel very fortunate. And my parents who live in the city, they've gotten their first round of shots. Me being, my late 40s and healthy, I'll probably get mine in 2024. But, other than that, I mean, it's been a really interesting 8 or 9 months. I'd end it with this last point. When about a month and a half in, a company sent me and my daughter a butterfly kit, right? And it's this mesh little container full of caterpillars, and like 3 or 4 caterpillars, and you give them a little caterpillar food, I guess, and then they sit there, and it's exciting for like 5 minutes. That's boring as hell for like 3 weeks. And then one day, the daughter walks into the kitchen and she looks up and she sees it and she goes, "Oh my God, Daddy, look!" And they've turned into butterflies. And you take them outside and release them, and you watch the whole. It's pretty awesome, right? But so of course we had to come home and study. And right now the caterpillar's like, "Yeah, I had a good life. It was fun. I got some caterpillar food and looked at this guy's kitchen for a while, and now I'm gonna die." And then they go in the cocoon, and when they come out as butterflies, they have no idea they've ever been a caterpillar. They don't know what happened to them. They just come out and they start a new life as a butterfly. And I kind of think that's where we are. And I think we need to remember that. A lot of us are freaking out. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? What's going on? The whole new change. This is a butterfly moment. We're gonna come out of this, better, and we will survive.
Very interesting. From butterfly effects to butterfly moments. As you were talking about dying, I noticed that the egg timer completely ran out. So thank you for taking 1 minute to set up your topic. But in all seriousness, you see, I can give it, I can take it, and
that's where we're going.
But I do love the context setting. And what we'll do is I'd like to hold over these common themes, because there was so much goodness to unpack. maybe that is something to take to the after show, even into Clubhouse. But certainly, as I said, from butterfly effects to this kind of butterfly, factor, which is really interesting. What we'll do is, in between each one of these vignettes, Judi, you are up next. But before we do that, on Monday on Corona TV, on Monday, I had Scott Rouse, and that's who Chad Dick was channeling earlier. This is the CoronaByte. And I said to him, amazing. I said, how do you read the room when the room isn't real? Speaking about body language and nonverbal cues in a virtual environment. Here is the highlight. What about a virtual environment? What can we do in these situations to watch people, I don't know, shifting, getting uncomfortable? How do we read the room when the room isn't real?
Right. Well, that's a great question. And what you're dealing from here up. That's all you've got. So when we talked earlier about open-handed gestures and those types of things, like me, I've got this desk and I'm sitting here. When you're talking, I could sit here and look like I'm really interested in what you're saying. But at the same time, it may make me look a little bit lazy and all that, because my posture would be bad. But I've sat here the whole time and talked to you like this. That'd look weird. So it's one of those things where you've got to be relaxed, because everybody's at the house. Most everyone is at their house or a little office they've set up. So you've got to look comfortable. And don't be staring at yourself all the time. The key is watching that other person. As you speak, make sure you use illustrators. Your brain emphasizes specific words or phrases like that, specific words or phrases, because they're just watching TV at this point.
And Judi, this is your moment now. And don't forget, if you're on mute, I loved, by the way, those sound bites. And by the way, one of the greatest tips when you are on Zoom is hide self-view, so you don't look and stare at yourself when someone else is talking. Judi, right now, we're just going to stare at you.
Oh, great. Well, listen, yeah. So I actually want to dovetail a little bit on what we were just talking about with, the pandemic and, everything like that. I mean, I've definitely had the past, 9-10 months now. Well, no, I guess it's almost 11 months that we've been doing this. And being able to look at the question of, is happiness free? We have so much time to kind of think about what we've been doing, how we've been living our lives. We've literally been put on pause. We've had to slow down. We're in these little, our home environments, and just being able to make that choice of, do we want to burn bright or do we want to burn out? Because there's a couple of different behaviors that I've tracked with the people that I work with. And one is people pleasing. People, don't want to say no. They're taking on a whole lot of responsibility, whether it's, their jobs as well as homeschooling. And it's also the fact of, not being able to say no gives us that sense of over responsibility, trying to do so much to make everybody else happy. And I think there's I actually saw the quote the other day: the greatest prison people live in is the fear of what other people think. And living in the social media world that we have right now, there's so much of let's look happy, let's not look depressed. And everybody that I talk to, because I get to hear the real stories when I'm doing one-on-one coaching with people or I'm doing group coaching, I get to hear the real stories about what people are going through. And we all cycle through. That's the other thing that I think is important, that we don't recognize that we all go through these different stages of being able to accept what's going on, be able, and then we go into the resistance. So there's acceptance and resistance. We want to hold on to what we have. We want to push certain things away. And that's 7 billion people on the planet. But I think that some of us get a bit fogged over by everything that's happening, that we don't actually tap in and really connect with people. It's, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm okay. And it's you really need to ask that deeper question, or you need to have that longer pause. So I'm going to open it up, and I actually do want to have a little bit of interchange with people of, what have you been noticing about when you try to connect with people? Are people coming in really authentic? Are they really sharing about what's going on? And what are the types of things that you're hearing about?
I will say, I'll jump in. My conversation, and we'll go to it soon, Lauren Griffiths, was an amazing conversation, and she and one of her LinkedIn posts is, no, I'm not okay, and crying at work, and And we actually spoke about the equivalent of, for those of us that have kids, when you go and you say, how was your day? Good.
Right.
More, very good. Good or great? Great. And I was like, and we have that equivalent in the workplace and in the workspace. Mm-hmm. We ask a question, but we don't really care to hear what the answer is. The answer is the equivalent of good. And by the way, when someone says, I'm not good, we actually don't know how to react to that. And so it's like, oh, well, great. You're feeling depressed. Awesome. See you around. So we need to figure out a better way to actually probe. And if we ask the question, we better well stick around and understand and be able to talk to the answer. I'll open it up to the rest of you.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I just started noticing in my own writing and all these exchanges is like the phrase I really hate the most in all of this is "hope all's well." And it's such a door closer of a phrase. And look, like I've had days where things aren't well, right? I had some really shitty days professionally over the past year. I've had some really, really shitty days personally, and I've had things in my own microcosm here. I've known people who've died from COVID. I've lost accounts when that was like one of the only accounts keeping me going. Like those were really I'm like fucking horrible days, right? Like I was miserable. And once in a while, someone would say, "How are you?" And I'd be like, you know what? This has been a really rough stretch, but I'm doing what I can to get through it, and I'll try to look on the bright side. And they'd have to be a pretty good friend for me to be able to respond that way. But also I noticed that I first of all, I never use the word like "hope all's well" because I know that might not be the case. And I love when people actually respond, because even just a normal exchange, if someone just responds some random thing to my newsletter, I'll be like, "Thanks, and by the way, how are you?" And I want to know. I love when someone responds, and I'm touched when someone actually responds and says, "Here's how things are," and it's usually not some little soundbite thing that you put on Facebook.
Right, and I love the fact that you ended it with, "And I really want to know."
Yeah,
being able to literally, open the door even further of like, yeah, I'm not just asking, like I really want to know. I love that. That's great.
I found that buddy checks are incredibly important. I'll just text people randomly who I scroll down my list and say, "Hey, I haven't talked to this person since, in the last 6 weeks. Hey, buddy check." I just send that in and let them respond to me by text. It's a little more personal that way, and it still takes a real conversation as opposed to, "Yeah, hope all is well." So I found that to be incredibly useful during this time.
I'm actually going to make a commitment on the show right now, which is the hope all's well. It's almost, you've got to say something from the dear, "Hey, Peter, what's up, Chad, Jason, hope all's well." Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say hope all's well, parentheses, and if it isn't, please let me know. I genuinely want to know, and I'm here for you. Or something like that, because the hope all's well. And by the way, at the end, on the other bookend is stay safe, right? So we need those like bookend generics. But the difference is, David, you've really, I'm not just saying that. I am absolutely going to make sure that if I say hope all's well, there will be a qualifier that says, and if it isn't, I'm open and here to have a real conversation. But thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah.
No, that was amazing. Well,
I've got a slightly contrarian point of view, but that would be me playing my role as the challenger. I first of all, the caveat being, I agree with what everybody's saying. I feel it. I see it in my colleagues. I see it in my clients. And when you said stay safe, that's what triggered it for me, because a challenger would never say stay safe. A challenger would probably say, "What are you doing about it?" And so all this conversation reminds me of something we wrote about in a book we put out a couple of years ago called "A Beautiful Constraint." I think the issue that we're all wrestling with is the constraints and limitations are on steroids. We've never dealt with them in this magnitude. Our hypothesis when we wrote the book was that there were three types of people: victims, neutralizers, and transformers. Victims shrivel under the constraint, neutralizers try to work around it. The challengers have a way of turning it into a breakthrough opportunity. What we learned, in fact, is that all human beings go through all three phases.
Yep.
So I think the question to ask is, what phase am I in? Do I feel like a victim? Am I just trying to neutralize the problem? Or have I found a way to really transform this into a breakthrough opportunity? And so that comes back to my question, which is, so what are you doing about it right now? Because if you sit and wallow in victimhood, nobody's going to have any accountability and nothing's going to get done. And I think there's actually a massive opportunity for us all to say, you know what? It's not just me feeling a constraint, everybody's feeling a constraint. So we're all in this together. Why don't we lock arms? You're not alone. And let's see if we can figure this out together, which is why, again, I come back to my answer on the Robinhood Wall Street bets. If they can figure out a way to work together to overcome this hedge fund thing, they might be able to take, this current situation, that, the constraints that are producing these day traders, and turn it into something that's actually productive and constructive rather than destructive.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that they're all going to be working and playing nicely together. But you know what? Cats and dogs living together. We'll see. There is a good segue into the next CoronaByte. Ford Saeks was in the studio on Tuesday. And I think based on where you are on that continuum, Chad, from victim to challenger, one of the things that you might want to draw on is something called a success library.
I would just say, as an action step, what is your success library for those people listening? What are you doing to feed your soul, to feed your mind? And I'm not acting like these things don't happen and life isn't out there. I'm not acting like you should put your head in the sand and act like there's not problems going around. No, be real, but be a critical thinker. Like be willing to challenge your opinions and challenge your beliefs and have a free voice. I want to just encourage you to take responsibility for your own success, create a success library, and work on it. So I work on it daily. I listen to meditation before I go to bed in the morning. I listen to audiobooks on my way to work. I have hundreds of audiobooks on Audible on my phone. I just make it a habit to subscribe and be a guest, like on shows like yours, where I can listen to what other guests are, because you can learn from everybody, even if it's not your core competency.
Well, hopefully Corona TV is part of your success library. Just a couple of hat tips to people that will be on next week. Tom is talking about how philosophers become the new rock stars. He's biased. Bob Heyman says virologists will become the new rock stars. How about rock stars become the new rock stars? Well, these guys can take each other on and out next Friday. But right now, we all eyes and ears are on you, Mr. David Berkowitz. Take it away with your 5-minute slot.
Wow. Well, it's funny. I want to take this in so many different directions, just based on all these incredible builds here, and I mean the interplay though of the personal and professional. I think this is actually going to be one of those silver linings, and one of the best things to come out of this, because I do feel like I know so many more people in more real ways than I have, and it's weird as someone who'd have like 3 to 5 in-person meetings a day with people I wouldn't see as colleagues before going into all this. So this kind of shift, I'm someone who got affected dramatically by. I think I'm right around the corner from the Regis where Peter worked. Is that the one on 34th?
I was 34th and 6th. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm right around the corner there, which is right by Herald Square, Empire State Building. It's in the just absolute center of the city, and yet there's no one to physically meet. And then in the process, I mean, it's still been this wonderful thing, like seeing so many pets on this show, and now I have my pets and kid who've been popping into so much of this, and it's like for the very few people and there was one guy I was dealing with who was like just clearly getting a little bit pissy over the kid interrupting the call thing, and I'm like, well, you know what? I'm not as eager to have a second call with this person. So you could kind of choose who you really want to be spending time with, and who can roll with this and appreciate.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, please. Yeah.
My bad. Please continue.
I also have this great reprieve here of in-person school happening. Just the idea that I have to have a conversation with my kid in the morning and saying, no, is this regular school or Zoom school? Like another thing I can't wait to end. But on the flip side of it, you know what I'm going to miss is that I get to know so much more about what's happening in her school. I upload every single one of her assignments to Google Classroom. And we had, I'll share actually just one of those exchanges last night. She's in first grade. Okay. And one of these things that floored me. So she came home from regular school, and I just actually, for the first time since the first version came out, I got an Apple TV again. I got it to go with the Apple Watch, and so I could get Apple Fitness. Like, I'm really just been focusing a lot more on my health, loving that, loving the Ring Fit adventure on the Switch. I do this, like the Switch workouts all the time. I discovered yoga about a year ago. Like, all this shit, by the way, totally new for me. I didn't do any of this. I lost 20 pounds during COVID eating sugary cereal. My cabinet's full of Lucky Charms and Captain Crunch. And so all of this stuff, but I think yoga changed my life. I know there's a lot on unpacking here, but I will share this one example from my kid, and I'll take a break, where so there's the family friendly music video playlist on Apple, and this Will.i.am video comes up, and it's his song, Why Am I Black on the title, about people of color getting a college education, and it's this wonderful, like, empowering anthem. And so the song plays, and she goes, this is like what we're doing, what we're talking about in school about that man. And I let her, like, struggle with this for a second, and then it comes to her. She goes, Martin Luther King Jr. She goes, did I get that in the right order? I said, yeah. And I said to her, I said, what made you think of that? And so she actually pauses on the screen where it's showing incarceration rates for white, Latin, and Black people. And she said before going into this, it was, because it's talking about the white and Latin and Black people. And so this 6-year-old is, like, starting to piece all of this together. And like the depth of that conversation, I wouldn't have had if she's just going from school to activity, and then I see for a bit at dinner, because her default is still the, just, yes, the day was good, or flat out, I don't want to tell you, or I can't remember. Like, she can remember all this. Yes, she can remember like one or two things she did in school. So she does play it coy. And this kind of depth is like, I'm so excited to just be around people like that who can just relate and want to relate and run with that in like as we get out of this.
And in the 4 seconds we have left, just want to say amen. David, if I had to summarize what you just spoke about today, first I wrote down the word vulnerability, and then I just wrote down the word depth. And I think basically we all have a choice. We all have a conscious choice who we work with, who we work for, who we connect with, who we consider to be real friends. I've certainly seen, I think you were always known as a good guy and a nice guy, but now we see it. We see, we don't need someone to tell us that about you, David. We just see it. And I'm quite privileged to have spent this time, however much time we've spent together through this, and I will continue to be there by your side and for you. And so just appreciate your thoughts. We probably have time for, if anyone wants to jump in as well, feel free. Or we'll just move on.
And here for you and all of you too.
That's an egg drop, an egg timer drop moment. Well, it is a really good, another good segue to get into this conversation with Lauren Griffiths. And you really should go back and I invite you guys to watch that episode, because, here's just a normal person, not an author, a speaker, a thought leader, this, etc. Just someone who works in HR. She changes her profile picture from the corporate retouched power suit, hair and makeup. 42, her hair basically is not even completely dried. She's not wearing makeup. 42 million views later, 30,000 comments, 800,000 likes. It struck a chord, it struck a nerve. She was basically talking to so many people out there. And this is just one of many highlights from our interview. You mentioned how you inspired people to toss the headshot. Here's your most recent inspirational test case. My LinkedIn profile pic was probably taken about 10 years ago.
Congrats. You know what? That other picture, yeah, you're not smiling. There's no personality there. We need to just stop being the person we think people expect us to be and just be ourselves. People would write to me, do you like my profile picture? And my response, I know it's simple. I'm like, you do you. You do what makes you happy. And that's it. If you feel comfortable in your photo, then great for you. Don't feel like you have to fit into society's expectation or mold, because you're not going to do your best work that way. You're not being vulnerable. There's like trust that's not being built there. So it all goes back to this idea that, authenticity, vulnerability builds trust. And part of that is showing who you really are.
And by the way, my most liked my most viewed ever LinkedIn post was that post. So go figure. Not 42 million, but still my most viewed one. Jason, your 5 minutes begins. And when I say your 5 minutes, what I mean is your 1 minute to set up. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Listen. You know me. Go for it. Do whatever you want. It's your show. It's your show.
Well, springing on from what Lauren had just said, right? Being yourself, I think in terms of helping companies consider what might be next, they'll come up with all these ideas and they don't know which direction to go. So one thing I offer them is, put them in a matrix of comfortable to uncomfortable and known to unknown. And then you're probably most likely to find the biggest opportunity where you know the least and it's the most uncomfortable. It's just a hunch, right? But it seems like if in your industry you're uncomfortable going there, the competition is probably also uncomfortable going there. So it's probably where nobody's playing and you're going to find a bunch of opportunity. Now, in terms of what coronavirus has done and how it's changed opportunity, I was looking at 100 years ago. Right? There was a pandemic 100 years ago, right? The Spanish flu, and like what came out of that was two things: high restriction, right? Because we had the alcohol ban, and then out of the alcohol ban were born the adult beverage industry and the stock car racing industry. Right. So we had we had a bunch of innovation even come out of high restrictions. So I'm interested to see what over the next few years coming out of Corona, the pandemic era of 2020, what sorts of restrictions will come into play, and then what innovations will that lead to? But then, of course, it opened up the Roaring '20s because people were tired of being shut down for 2 years, so it was a decade of parties, and so that opened up the entertainment industry, in movies, speakeasies, maybe the restaurant industry was born of there. I haven't gotten that deep into the research yet, but you could make the case for it maybe. I'm interested to see in that direction too, like when things open up, what does that lead to in terms of opportunity? And so where should people be looking right now as to where those opportunities could be? Because I think from March until now, by and large, the bad businesses have already died. Like people who have put their head in the sand and hope to ride it out, their cash flow is gone and they've already gone and gotten jobs or closed the businesses and sold off the assets. And so the businesses that are left are those that have the money and the resource and the willpower to make it happen. So if you're in the business of helping businesses, now is the time to double down and help these people accelerate with your knowledge and wisdom. And so a couple of places I see opportunity if you're in any kind of business that helps the use of space, right? Somebody mentioned earlier, there's going to be all these empty buildings because a lot of companies have gone remote. So how do we repurpose space? What can all that be used for? There's a thing about repurposing cash because now businesses aren't going to be paying the rent on all that space. So what should they be using that cash for? Then there's this thing about schools. And I think there's an opportunity there for somebody to kind of reinvent what school is like, because we're finding not everything that happened, even though it's super inconvenient, not everything that happened in terms of kids being at home for so long was a bad thing. Bringing parents becoming more intimate with their kids' schoolwork and their kids, and finding more. So how do we get that result? Well, at the same time, taking away the stress of the parent needing to be the at-home teacher. Like, I don't know the solution, but there's a couple of things in there that if somebody can figure out how to tie those two together, there's a business. And then the last one is, I'm in West Michigan here. We've got a nexus of like Steelcase, Herman Miller. There's a bunch of commercial furniture manufacturers. So I've got a little bit of info, inside info, that they're all pointing at producing furniture, and they're calling it, quote, resumercial. Right? So what's the opportunity if you're going to support teams permanently remote, and how are you going to help install offices in the home space? And if you're an interior decorator, there's a huge opportunity. If you're a teams coach and now these teams are remote, like, there's a huge opportunity. So I'm just seeing all of these patterns repeat themselves from 100 years ago, and just wanted to point out the opportunities that might be latent here.
Anyone want to jump in and comment? There was a lot of good stuff in there. I won't lie.
I actually want to chime in specifically on the one about the building the teams. I've had several clients that have gotten jobs during the pandemic, and they're working for huge corporations, huge organizations. And the biggest challenge that they've had was being able to onboard effectively and build the relationships with the people that they needed to have. Because it's not just like, oh, I'm going to see that person and walk by their office and say, hey, how you doing? And it's like, people don't have time. Because again, it's like, sometimes they're homeschooling their kids and they're doing their job. They don't have time to just have like a quick chat or whatever. And it's like those relationships, and building relationships is so important. And the phrase that I love and I use daily is connection is currency. And it's the currency of relationship. It's the currency of business. And I think not only is it learning how to build a team virtually because there are unique challenges, but it's also being able to deal with conflict on the virtual level, because it's so easy. This is another thing that I've heard. It's like there's a lot of chit chat that goes on between people of like, this person pissed me off, this person pissed me off, but they never actually connect. And there's this undercurrent of like vitriol that goes on in some teams that, it doesn't get unearthed and it's not effective. So again, on multiple levels, I can talk on and on about it, but I also think the other thing is that people are so sick of virtual that they are going to go running for in-person training and development, public speaking events, conferences. People are hungry. They cannot wait to get on an airplane.
It's funny you mentioned. It's funny you mentioned hungry and running. I have actually started. Two things of which I'm always hungry and should be running more. But one of the things that I've started doing is I have started having meetings again, in-person meetings, but they are physical distance. We go out, we meet outside, and we walk all around Manhattan. Now, granted, it's easier to do it here than it is in, say, like, a car infested place, but like. I met someone last week. We had to go over something, and we spent 45 minutes walking up and down the Hudson River, right on the West Side Highway, and it was phenomenal. And it was so nice to be able to look someone in the eye and see them and have a conversation, even though we're wearing our masks, right? And talking to people. But there's definitely a need for that. I mean, the lack of travel, the lack of flying has impacted me. I mean, that's where I do all my writing, right? It's been brutal. It's been brutal not to be able to write, but. And I don't see it coming back for at least the better part of this year. We're not going to be on planes like we were for till next year at least, at the earliest. But I'm starting to see different ways of doing it, telling people, hey, do you want to meet for a walk outside? And yeah, actually, yeah, that would be great. Let's do that, right? Something that people just think, we don't think about that, but it is possible. Set it the right way, and it is possible.
Not when it's 6 degrees, because it's pretty
Not today.
cold.
Today, no.
It's pretty cold in Connecticut as well.
Buttercup.
All right. No, it's cold. It's cold. You know, Glenn is here, and he said we have a disparity now in major universities. This is really interesting concept between those who joined before and after COVID. Are the Zoom relationships real? Not really, in my view. And actually, the final CoronaByte comes from Daniel Golden, who is a Pulitzer Prize winner for The Price of Admission, Spy Schools. Now he's writing a book on ransomware. Really fascinating conversation. But this is about being called a muckraker. And I guess sometimes when people are venturing into the unknown and feeling uncomfortable, you need a muckraker to help them figure out how to get there. And I read this in your bio. It said, some annoyed college administrators have called Golden a muckraker or gadfly. Both are labels he wears with pride. Well, that may be so, but now we're going to have to figure out, are you a muckraker, a muckraker, and what the hell does that word mean?
I think it's muckraker. It must have been a typo or something. I don't think there's a C in it. I could be wrong. And I think it means, you know, raking muck, going through dirt to find information. You know, that's what it comes from. It may well date back to the, 100 years ago, to the era of, the great muckrakers in the Teddy Roosevelt period, the people fighting against monopolies and the Upton Sinclair and all those great investigative reporters of that era.
So I wonder if muckrakers are also challengers. Chad, you get to bring us home. Your segment begins now.
Well, I took your brief literally, so I come today with 3 words: Peloton, green shoots, and social trust. That's what I'm thinking about. Why Peloton? Because today's the 34th day of Christmas for me. I've been waiting since Christmas Day for my Peloton to be delivered, which was ordered in October. This is the 5th time they've rescheduled it. I will believe it when I see it, but they're actually supposed to deliver while I'm on air. That's why.
What do they call it? Happy Peloton Day.
Happy Peloton Day, yeah.
Like I said, I'll believe it when I see it. The reason I'm interested is because it is the worst customer experience and worst operational failure that I have ever seen in a startup that is 7 years old. And their compensation to me was to send me a flimsy water bottle and a towel to say, we thank you for your patience. So I'm impatiently waiting for my Peloton. Green shoots, to build on what Jason said, because to a challenger, the last disruptive year has been, just like you said, muckraking, turning the soil over, and we are already starting to see the green shoots of interesting challengers addressing some of the fundamental challenges of the day, whether it be the environment, social equality, rebuilding truth and trust and transparency in a world full of disinformation. So we put out annually in January a list of challengers to watch, and I would encourage people to check them out because there's loads of lessons to be learned from the people who are already doing it right now. The reason I voted for Robinhood and the Merry Men Online is because we're starting to see alliances of smaller bands come together to fight the big tyranny of big business. And the other big theme in there is we're seeing a lot of brands come out and add color and fun and lightheartedness in the backdrop of a year that's just been horrible for all of us. And the reason I said social trust is because for me personally, I think that's the biggest issue of the day right now that I don't see anybody addressing very successfully. Joseph asked me what all my social media handles were, and I said, I'm off social media. I dumped it last year. I am very worried about the malicious algorithms and AI that manipulate our behavior for their own profit, and I don't see anybody yet who has really cracked the nut. So I think it's a call out to the wannabe challengers out there, whoever's going to figure it out. In our list of challengers to watch, we have 2. Mozilla and their campaign to un-F the internet, and Telepath, who's trying to come up with a new way to give us a social media platform that's more transparent and sort of community policed. But they're still in beta, so I can't say that they've proven success. So that's just one theme in our challengers to watch, and those are kind of the 3 big things that I'm thinking about. How's that for 2.5 minutes?
You absolutely nailed it. And whilst none of my guests will be invited back, you, sir, well, no, I'm kidding. I mean, we're talking about being lighthearted as well. Like sometimes, you know, what I've always loved about the show, by the way, is that we go from our lives are so manic depressive now that the highs are super high, the lows are unbelievably low. And we just have to figure out how to cope with all of these extremes and bounce back. You know me, I'm beyond fascinated with the work that you do. This website, eatbigfish.com/thinking, is where people can sign up for the newsletter. What else can they do there?
Well, you could read about all the challengers to watch, and then, you know, it'll be a little bit like a rabbit hole. You can just go down as deep as you want. We try to leave our R&D cupboard open for free to the public so that people can see and learn directly from the challengers that are inspiring us in the work that we do.
Well, here's a question from Manif. He said, where do challengers meet as a community?
Well, I mean, yeah, you know, the cynical answer would be in an Eat Big Fish workshop. That's exactly why I gave that link, because we do have a community of challengers online in the social networks. We have our own newsletter. We have our own events that, you know, we're still trying to figure out how to do that since we haven't been able to do them in a physical way. But we used to have people in our office in London to meet and convene and share challenger ideas. So we do it both privately and publicly for anybody who wants to think and act like a challenger. That's why we exist as a company. Our I hate to call it purpose, our reason for being is to lead, inspire, and encourage people who want to think and, more importantly, behave like a challenger. Because at the end of the day, just back to my earlier comment, what are you doing? Because a lot of people like to talk challenger. They talk a really good game, but they don't actually do anything with it. And that's why we exist. We call ourselves Catalyst, because we're trying to facilitate and help people who aspire to be a challenger to actually go do it.
Well, I think the answer that Manif was looking for is we're meeting right now on Corona TV on Friday. That's the uncynical answer. But I mean, I've always geeked out at this, and I actually think it's not only has it always been an unbelievably strong positioning, but I think now more than ever, this is what the world needs. The world needs challenges, and we're witnessing it all the time. So, you know, timing is everything, and this is the year, hopefully, of the challenger. I want to thank all my guests. We are going to say goodbye to you one by one, but I think most of you will be with us for the Zoom after show, bit.ly/Corona TV after show. By the way, I'm always amazed by the fact that people, I get an email every time someone logs onto Zoom, and I just see everyone logging on at different hours of the day and the night and the weekend. I'm like, what part of live did you not understand? So if you are watching live and you want to interact with us, do that. Otherwise, I'm not a time traveler and I cannot help you. So do not log on on Sunday at 3 a.m. because I will not be there to receive you. And nor will Peter Shankman. Peter, everyone is gonna leave us with one Corona question answer. What's the best Super Bowl commercial of all time, in your opinion?
The Clydesdales bowing in front of the 9/11 crater.
Check out the Sam Adams one from this year. They're poking fun at the Clydesdales.
Don't mess with the Clydesdales, man. The Clydesdales are institutions.
Boston is messing with the Clydesdales. It's a funny one. Check it out.
Embarrassed of gonna be. No, it's definitely the Clydesdales. But I'm always thrilled to be on here, man. Thanks for having me again.
You know what? I would probably have used the words "don't" with the Clydesdales, starting with an F. But we will see what happens. Indeed, Peter, it was great, and we're gonna do a Clubhouse panel next week, and Peter is going to be back for a incredible community episode in February. I suppose I can share who's going to be on it. First of all, my sister, guest number 1 on Corona TV. She has a cycling studio. Peter Shankman, Peloton lover, Ironman enthusiast, great faster. Jeremy Tucker, the CMO of Planet Fitness. Lee Odin, who has literally transformed himself into I don't know, a god, a Norse god, and then finally Dave Rendell, the giant freak in pink, who just ran 275 miles in 30 days. So a health and wellness themed episode. Peter, we will see you soon. Thank you for coming in. I always love it. Judi, you are up next. Same question for you in your final parting words.
Yeah, my final parting words. I would have to say that my favorite commercial was the one where they go, "What's up?"
Mm.
And that's, you know, from
Yeah.
as a Jersey girl, that was just something that, you know, I just thought it was great, you know.
You're talking about version 1, right? Not the second version where they said, "What's up, Chad?"
Right. No, it's the first. Oh,
It's the real one, right? Not the preppy one. Thank you. Okay, just checking.
I don't know the brand. I actually don't remember
Budweiser.
the brand.
It's Budweiser.
It was Budweiser? Okay. So
Don't ruin my evil plan, which is to show that the greatest commercials of all time, we don't even know the brands associated with them. But
Right.
no, but I agree. And you know what, Judi? It all comes down to humor, right? We need to laugh, especially during tough times. Laugh
Right.
or cry, but cry in a good way. So, Judi, we will see you in the after show. Thank you for coming in. Mr. David Berkowitz, a man who knows a thing or two about marketing, tell us what your favorite commercial, Super Bowl commercial, is of all time.
The one I'm still touched by. I'll go with Mean Joe Green. Yeah, Coke nailed it. And the other thing that's great about it is that you really can't forget the brand that's at the center of it. At least if you've watched it and remember more than the Mean Joe Green title of it. So there are plenty I love. Like I love Terry Tate. I could watch that over and over again. I probably watch the Terry Tate series more than any other commercials. But shit, like if I'm gonna try to work with a brand on and also to have something that works like year in, year out, yeah, just absolutely timeless. Love it.
Great. Well, David, you are not mean, and your name's not Joe, but we'll see you in the Zoom after show. Thank you for coming in. Next, we have Jason Borowicz, who will come back one day and show us what his real house looks like.
Yeah, that's right.
Jason, best Super Bowl commercial of all time.
I think one of my favorites was the Monster one. It really tapped into the emotion of people feeling distraught in their careers, and they had the little kids going, you know, when I grow up, my dream is to be a middle manager, and my dream is to get laid off after 17 years of hard work.
Good one.
I thought that was a great series.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want that for themselves?
That's right.
Jason, we won't see you in the Zoom after show, but thank you for coming in, and good luck with your next commitment. Really loved your insights. Thank you.
You're welcome. See you soon.
And then finally, Mr. Chad Deckett. And then there were two who, by the way, both of us born on December 24th of the same year, in fact.
No, I'm a day older than you, December 23rd, but, you know, who's counting?
Huh?
I have more gray hair than you do.
But
so
no, wait, I thought we were twins. I thought we were both December 24th.
We're within 12 hours of each other, so we'll call ourselves Irish twins or whatever it is.
All right, well, how does it feel to be 50?
You know, my mantra is I spent the first 50 years of my life doing what I should do, and then I'm going to spend the next 50 years doing what I want to do. So it feels great.
All right, awesome. And I was happy until I got my welcome kit from AARP. But yeah, that was brutal. I'm going to send it to you. So, Chad, best Super Bowl commercial of all time.
Well, the caveat, of course, is there's too many to pick just one. But what I've been thinking about Super Bowl wise is actually a dialogue we're having internally, how boring and awful automobile advertising has become. And so I'm going to point to one from last year. I think Porsche's ad last year that celebrated their heritage and history, and then of course their foray into electrical vehicles with the Taycan, is probably the best on-brand, exciting commercial. And it probably doesn't speak to everybody, but I can guarantee you, if you are a Porsche enthusiast or you like to drive cars fast, it's probably the best auto ad I've seen that actually produces brand building and builds sales and transactions. So I'm interested to see what they do next, because I thought they hit a home run last year.
All right. Well, I think all five of you hit a home run. It's just me left just to say we're going to head on over to the Zoom after show, and I will see you guys there. I will see you maybe see if anyone's hanging out on Clubhouse. But I thought just today was tremendous. What wonderful, wonderful insights. And of course, it wouldn't be Corona TV without the final word going to Chuck Norris.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
times 5.
Thank you for watching Corona TV with your host, multiple author and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. Corona TV is the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing. The after show on Zoom starts right now at bit.ly/Corona TV After Show. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show at coronatv.show. And if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, text Corona TV to 66866 or visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.